Today we are going back to the basics. Today we are talking about grounding and centering. Before we can harness the power of magic to do all of the things that we like to do, whether it's spiritual advancement, whether it's practical magic, no matter what it is, we first must ground and center. Grounding and centering holds immense importance. It enables us to connect with our physical bodies, our emotions, our minds, and also connect with a greater power source. Grounding and centering is not new. It's something that you can see in all historical depictions of magic. This practice really does transcend time and culture. Grounding and centering taps into the physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual dimensions of the self. There's two practices in one, grounding and centering. They provide a very important and strong foundation for all of our magical work. Grounding connects us to the physical world, to the earth, and centering helps us find inner balance with the energy that's existing within us. So we want to ground to a greater power source, very frequently the earth itself. And then you also want to feel like you are centering and balancing the energy that exists within your electromagnetic field, your aura. And that includes your emotions, that includes your physical body, and that includes your mind. Before you start any kind of spell work or ritual, it's imperative that you ground and center. Grounding involves oftentimes visualizing roots extending deep into the earth's core, but it doesn't have to. The idea of the roots coming from the base of your spine or the soles of your feet into the earth's core is just a symbolic way of attaching to that power source. But some people can do that by visualizing a pole going into the earth, or some people just feel connected to the earth beneath them. Centering is finding balance, relaxation, and peace. It's an inner journey, and it lets us reset our inner state and to connect with our subconscious minds and our higher self. This is so necessary before we work magic, and also after we have finished working magic. Now, the basic grounding and centering that's taught frequently and which I use in a witch's primer is fourfold. But I want to be clear, this is not the only way to achieve this. But let's go through these steps. The first step is you start by taking slow breaths, and you repeat a breathing cycle enough to begin to relax your body. You can count your breaths, for instance, inhaling for the count of 8, holding the breath for the count of 4, and exhaling for the count of 8. Or if you're not going to be that formal, just inhaling slowly, holding the breath briefly, and then exhaling slowly. If you do a few cycles of this, you're going to notice that your mind and body both begin to relax. That relaxation is of primary importance. You can't ground and center without it. The next step is to envision roots extending from the base of your spine or from the soles of your feet, connecting you into the energy of the earth beneath you. And for many of us, we visualize this as a molten core of the earth that we see as a white light or an electric blue light. And then we begin to, as we breathe, allow this earth energy to rise up into our body, up through the spine, and then flowing up and shooting out through the crown of our heads, and then cascading back down to the earth, making a circuit. And we just stay there, and we do several of those circuits, taking nice deep breaths, relaxing our bodies, relaxing our minds, pulling this beautiful energy up from the earth through those roots, all the way through our spines, up and out through the crown of our heads, and seeing it cascading down around us. We feel like this energy is cleansing, rejuvenating, and empowering us. This is that same magical energy that we are going to be using to direct towards our magical objectives, whatever they will be. Once you feel like you are filled with this energy and connected to that source, that earth beneath you, allow yourself to have all of the excess energy drain back into the earth, just leaving you serene and balanced and clear and grounded and centered. Now, people ground and center in all kinds of ways. That's just a way that you can do it that's very certain and you're going to get the right results. Some people can achieve the same thing simply by focusing on their breath or working something like the magic minute where you're focusing on a silent mantra. Some people do body scans where they let go of excess tension. Some people find the grounding and centering by doing walking meditations. You can be grounded and centered simply by sitting and relaxing in nature, spending time to promote your balance in connection to that natural world. Rhythmic body movements, yoga, walking, dancing. Think in terms of how some witches will start their magical meetings with a meeting dance, and they'll end their meetings with a parting dance. What that does is it grounds and centers them as a group, because they are synchronizing movement and breath, oftentimes with chanting, which is another way to ground and center yourself, using chants, mantras, sacred songs. So there's a lot of ways that you can have that experience of grounding and centering. But if you follow that meditation so that you know what it feels like to be grounded and centered, then when you're exploring these other techniques, you can ascertain whether you have achieved your objective of having that grounding and centering occur. It's important to have a very clear intention and also honestly assess your energy state before and after you practice magic. So you want to be able to become very in tune with the energy in your body and in your aura so that you know if you need more grounding and centering before you start magic. And also when you're finished, you know if you're off balance, because you really need to make sure you rebalance and reground when you're finished. Grounding and centering are fundamental practices, and we always talk about them like they're the same thing, but remember, those are two things that we do in consort. They serve as the starting point for all other magical work. They provide a stability and balance to harness the sometimes very chaotic energies of magic. If you're achieving that feeling of grounding and centering on a regular basis, you will find profound long-term benefits from doing it. Through this grounding and centering process, we connect with the strength and the wisdom of the earth. And not only does that sustain us during spell work, but over time, it allows us to maintain a more peaceful and magical outlook in general, not just in rituals. We learn how to achieve balance within our mental, emotional, spiritual, and electromagnetic selves by doing this on a regular basis. It's important to remember that everybody's magical journey is going to be unique, and grounding and centering is no different. So find methods that resonate with you. You don't have to do what everybody else does, but it is important that you understand why we do what we do. And the more you practice this, the more you can master it. And the more you master the energy in your electromagnetic field, the more you master the energy of magic itself, and the more you become a magical adept through something very simple like grounding and centering. So there's many ways to do it. There's rituals to do it, such as the Kabbalistic cross. Israel Regardie came up with a wonderful meditation based on the middle pillar of the Kabbalistic tree of life called the middle pillar technique. And that's a wonderful grounding. And it does more than just grounding and centering, but it includes grounding and centering in it. And it balances the energy centers in your body. Anytime you do chakra meditations or things like that, you're doing a type of grounding and centering. But it's important that you find these things to do and that you do them daily. The idea being that you relax your body, you relax your mind, you link up to a power source that's greater than your own ego, and allow yourself to be in balance and to balance all of those energies, and that you release energies that are tense and that you let go of everything that is standing in the way of that balance, and that you draw into yourself that sacred energy, either from the earth or from the sky or both, from spiritual planes, from the solar light. There's all kinds of power sources that you can link to, but so that you're not depleting your own energy when you are working magic. Even if you're not working magic, grounding and centering is a wonderful technique to get into the habit of using on a regular basis. You can't overdo it. You can't overdo it. You really can't. The more grounded you are, the more centered you are, the more things seem to work out for you. And the easier time that you have of dealing with problems when they come up in a wise way. Because when you're grounded and centered, you are more apt to be receptive to the inner voice of your guide or your guardian angel. Whereas if your energy in your body is chaotic and your mind is racing, you have very little chance of listening to that still small voice within you. So that small little ritual of grounding and centering, a lot of times especially since we learned it at the very beginning of our magical studies, people say, oh yeah, I know how to do that. But oftentimes they don't really do it. And they forget that's something that if they do it on a regular basis, it is such an important part of their magical practice that it could be a path unto itself. Very much like in yoga, a sun salutation could be considered an entire yoga workout. Your grounding and centering could be a type of magical practice unto itself. Most frequently, it's used as a starting point and an ending point to a magical operation. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, blessed be.